It's Our Story. Stephen Brown, Louisville, Kentucky.
And actually at WID, one of the things I talk about frequently is at WID there were people of various religions, people of various ethnicities, people of various sexual orientations and gender, I don't know what we'd call it today, gender identification. I mean, people who were heterosexual, homosexual, transgendered, all kinds of different folks. But most of them were from this country. And so one of the things that happened, actually the first few times I talked about disability culture at WID, was one of the reactions was, well, we don't think there can be a disability culture because we're American. And I heard that and it stunned me. I mean, it really stopped me. But I remember it because it happened so often. And I was trying to think, well, why in the world could it be that people are saying that? How does being American stop there from being a disability culture? And what I finally got was that disability was such a negative connotation for people that, and especially people who maybe were lesbian and were identified as already being away from the norm, not to mention having a disability, that they didn't want to add disability to the negative stereotypes and connotations that people saw them with. So I sort of went from there to, well, if that's going on, then what people need is to have pride in who they are as a person with a disability. So when Lillian and I started the Institute in '94, we had moved from California to New Mexico. And we partly did that with the purpose of when we got there, we were going to start the Institute on Disability Culture. And so we had to think about, what we wanted the Institute to say. And so we came up with the mission statement of promoting pride in the history, activities, and cultural identity of people with disabilities throughout the world. A small mission statement. So, and then we did promoting disability pride as our motto and put it on our business cards, and we had a shirt that said promoting disability pride. And one of the actually wonderful things that happened was I have a friend who's the director of this independent living center in Houston, and she started a mobile center. She got a bus that's really a mobile center, and she asked if she could use promoting disability pride on the side of the bus, and so she did. So so then when I started writing a lot about disability culture, and I'd been talking about it for about 4 or 5 years and writing a bit about it, and people kept asking me for a one-sentence definition. And I'd go, well, let's see, I can talk about it for an hour. I can write about it I had written a monograph about it at that point, but a one-sentence definition, I don't know if I can do that. So I sat down one sunny Saturday morning in New Mexico, literally, and I tried to write this definition, and I wrote an article, and I didn't come up with a one-sentence definition, but I came up with a one-paragraph definition that I then had to put on my business cards so I'd actually have it with me whenever people asked me about it. So this is what it is. People with disabilities have forged a group identity. We share a common history of oppression and a common bond of resilience. We generate art, music, literature, and other expressions of our lives and our culture, infused from our experiences of disability. Most importantly, we are proud of ourselves as people with disabilities. We claim our disabilities with pride as part of our identity. We are who we are people with disabilities. Now at this point I might be able to lop off that last sentence, but I've read that so many times, I have to keep it on there. So anyway, I got actually a lot of thinking about that from reading people like James Baldwin. James Baldwin is, if you don't know, is an author who was black and also gay. And he was actually one of the very first people who talked about what became Black is Beautiful. And there's a book he wrote called No Name in the Street. And if you read the last 20 pages of that book and you substitute you substitute non-disabled for white, and person with a disability for black, you almost have the exact same 20 pages. And so what he's talking about in that part of the book is that, to now put it into the disability context, that people with disabilities are not going to be integrated into society the way we would like to be, as long as we're trying to be non-disabled. So if you drool and you're trying to hide your drooling, if you walk funny, you have a quote-unquote funny gait, if you use a communicator to talk, a voice synthesizer to talk, and you try not to use that, if you try to hide aspects of your disability, there's no way you can be integrated the way we as a movement should want that to happen, I'm putting my bias in there now, should want that to happen, because we want to be integrated as we are. And in order to do that, I think we have to have pride in who we are. So I don't think only people with disabilities should have pride. I think everybody should have pride. And I don't think you should have pride only in the disability aspects of who you are. But if you don't have pride in the disability aspects of who you are, you're probably not going to have pride in other parts of yourself as well. So, pride became and has become very important for me in my work and what I talk about. And then to make this even longer, Lillian, we were doing a workshop at one point, I think, and she started talking about the journey from disability shame to disability pride. And that was really important, I think, because I tended to talk about pride, but because of her experiences, she started talking about shame and how many of us with disabilities have been ashamed of who we are as people with disabilities. And of course, we have good reason for that. We've been taught to be ashamed of our disabilities. If we have pain, we're taught to hide it and to say, oh, it's not that bad, I can go on. And there's plenty of other examples which are sort of escaping from me right now. But because of the way that society has looked at people with disabilities over the centuries, we've tried to hide our disabled conditions, our disability conditions. And if you try to hide something, how can you not be ashamed of it? So one of the things we talk about now in this journey from shame to pride is that even if you have pride, if you've gotten to that place, it doesn't mean that you don't take a step back and have shame about certain things. So, it is a journey for many of us from disability shame to disability pride, but it's not a journey from A to B and you're done at B. Frequently you go to Z or 1 or whatever, it's a zigzag path. So I think that's also really important to remember.
The It's Our Story project is a national effort to make disability history public and accessible. Visit us at www.itsourstory.org or on the It's Our Story project YouTube channel.